So really quickly. All right. Who all has had their mock interview? Did they give you back your mock interview sheet? Okay, very good. So you guys know that you need to upload those into the assignment. I think the assignment is next week, so make sure you hold on to those. You are going to be uploading those in the assignment, okay? Go ahead, Andrea.
Good morning, Miss Taylor. I'm trying
Good
to
morning.
call you faster before start class. I'm an emergency. Probably my husband is already emergency surgery. Um, if you when you have time, can you read the email, please? I'm in the hospital. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I will.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think they
okay.
say the appendix of him is almost going to explode.
Girl, get off of here and go take care of yourself. Oh no.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, no, no. Be better. Sorry about that. I'll follow up with you. Don't worry.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, honey. All right. Bye-bye. All right. So yeah, make sure that when you get those mock interview results that you are uploading them into your assignment. It's next week, so make sure you hold on to that and upload those into your assignment. All right. Today we're going to be talking about writing because you will be sending your career services person a thank you email, and we want to just spend a little bit of time on what that should look like, because when you interview, when you're doing the real thing, remember what we said last week. It's going to be important that you follow up and send that thank you email. Why is that important? Because you need to do everything you need to do to stand out and to be noticed. And believe it or not, a lot of people forget to do the thank you email, so they don't know about it. And it, when you do it and others don't, it just makes you look better, right? It makes the interviewer say, okay, this is a professional, they were listening, and it may give you a couple of extra points. So whatever you need to do, make sure you do that thank you email. All right. So in business writing, letters come in a standard format. It used to be Times New Roman, but now it can be Times New Roman or Arial. Some people are even still doing Calibri or Allegri. 12-point font used to be a thing in schools. Most colleges still say 12-point, but in business writing, 11-point font is standard. Obviously, when you're writing, you want to less justify like you would in any, even in school, we've learned that, and indent the first paragraph. So all this is still very standard. It's one of the reasons why they teach you that in primary education, because in business, this form of writing is standard. Most letters, at some point, you guys will all write a letter. You don't know what type of role you're going to have at your companies, but definitely if you become supervisor or team lead or whatever, you may have to write a letter, and all letters, look very similar. They always have a heading, which is basically your information, followed by a date. And then typically you put the address of the person that you're writing to. You send them some type of greeting. Now, the thing with writing, if you learn this nuance, you can write anything. Every piece of writing, whether it's a cover letter, a business letter, or even a doctoral dissertation, all have introductions, bodies, and closings. Introduction, body, and closing. Now, watch this. The entire paper has an introduction, a body, and a closing. Every paragraph has a mini introduction, a body, and a closing. If you can understand and remember that simple nuance, you can write anything. So, for example, if I wanted to write you a letter about why it's important to drink water when it's hot in Florida. Hmm? Or, yeah, I'm always going to start with an introduction. My introduction is always going to be, it's important to drink water when it's hot in Florida. My body is going to be the reasons why it's important to drink water when it's hot in Florida, because the body supports the introduction. And then my closing is always going to be going back over, summarizing what I've told you in the body. Even if I were writing an entire doctoral dissertation on why it's important to drink water in Florida when it's hot, instead of just having maybe one paragraph about why it's important, my introduction to that, instead of it being one sentence, I may have 4 paragraphs on introducing why it's important to drink water when it's hot in Florida. The body may just go into all the different examples of why it's important to drink water. And then my closing, which could be 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, will still be rehashing what I've talked about in my body. So, in essence, the only difference between writing a 1 page letter about why it's important to drink water in Florida when it's hot and writing 100 pages is how many pages the introduction is going to be, how many pages the body is going to be, and how many paragraphs the closing is going to be. In the dissertation, you just talk more about it. In a 1 page, you talk less about it, but the structure is still the same. Does that make sense? Even if you were going to write your girlfriend about, all right, girl, let me tell you why you should not date men in the military. If she was just sending 1 page, she would just give a brief introduction. Why you shouldn't date men in the military. Her body would be short, and then her closing would be short. But if she was writing a dissertation on it and it's 100 pages, she's going to talk a little bit more about the introduction, a lot more about the body, and still close it out. So it doesn't really matter if you're writing a little bit or a lot, the structure never changes. Whenever you're writing, the structure never changes. Even when you are writing an email to thank the person for interviewing you, after you get past the heading and the greeting, which is hello, Sam, what is your body of your email going to say? It's going to start with what? Why am I reaching out to you? Almost like your sales pitch. I want to thank you for meeting with me yesterday. That's the introduction, right? Now the body's going to talk about why you want to thank them. I want to thank you because you taught me, about the new project. I really want to thank you because let me know, about the structure of the new job. And then you're going to close it out. Once again, thank you, and I look forward to talking to you. Introduction, body, closing. If you understand that nuance, you can write anything. Does that make sense? And that's coming from someone that actually taught language arts in middle school. If you can learn that little nuance, you can write anything. So when you're writing any type of letter, you always want to let the person know who you are. So you're always going to start with your information at the top. Now, this will typically be your company's information. We already know we don't put our personal information on stuff unless it's going directly to someone that you're familiar with. And then you always follow it up with the date and then who the person is that you're reaching out to. So you're reaching out to Mike, you're going to put his contact information. And then you're going to go right into your greeting. Hello, Mike, dear Mike, whatever. Your first paragraph is always, why am I writing you? The body, whatever it is, why you're the best, this happens to be this person's reasons. And then the last paragraph is always going to be thank you again. Here, the call to action, we're closing it out. Remember, like even when we're doing our sales pitches, do you want them to do something next? Well, if you're in the interview and you're sending somebody a thank you, or if you have a cover letter to a resume, it's always going to be, I look forward to hearing from you. It's always going to be in your closing paragraph, right? If you have something for them to do. But if there's nothing that you need them to follow up on, then your closing paragraph is just going to be rehashing, summarizing paragraphs 1 and 2 or 3. So an example of a thank you message, right? This is back in the day when we used to actually send it in the mail, just so you guys know how hard our lives used to be. Ms. Cortez wrote, information at the top. This doesn't have to look like this. Some people like to structure theirs that way, center it and all that. With the date, reaching out to Mr. Mitchell. Hello, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you for the opportunity to interview for this position. She goes on to talk about what they talked about in the job. And then what she does, she closes it out. Thank you again for your time. I'm enclosing a copy and I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to hearing from you is that call to action. That means you're up next, right? She enclosed her resume because maybe he asked for it, or I'm sorry, her professional references. And there it is. When you are writing, if you are going to attach anything to a cover letter, you always put enclosure at the bottom so the person knows that there's another document associated with this letter. But very simple, right? First paragraph is always introduction, details of whatever you said. Here she's saying, thank you for meeting with me. Then she goes on to talk about what they talked about and she's closing it out. Simple. Even if you're writing an email, watch this. The body doesn't change. Introduction, body, closing. The only thing that changes is what? In an email, you don't have to put your address because, you don't have to put your address because your email is going to be, they're going to see where it's coming from. And you don't have to put their address because their email is basically serves as the address, right? And so the subject line will talk about what you are writing them about. Obviously, she's saying Cortez interview, thank you. I would have put letter, but that's okay. Dear Mr. Mitchell, none of that changes. The only difference is she put her contact information at the bottom. The reason why she did that is because, sometimes people, if you send your email, you know how some people's emails, don't always say their name. In this instance, her email did say J. Cortez, but people have different emails. So the person may not know, what is this email address, right? So it's always good to have your contact information at the bottom so they'll know who it is, right? You should have a signature block when you're sending emails anyway. So that's her signature block. But what changed? Her information is here at the bottom, and Mr. Mitchell's information is not necessary because she's using his email address. And then she's attached that enclosure, which is those references that apparently he asked for. The structure is the same, right? Introduction, body, closing. Whenever you are writing an email, it should always look like this. Even if these three are even shorter than that, right? Whenever you're writing someone, you should always greet them. Has anyone ever sent you something and they didn't greet you? How did it make you feel? It's like, rude. And it's kind of rude when people don't greet you. Sometimes I don't even like when people text me. Like, greet me, say hello, how are you doing? Something. Maybe I'm old school. I always think a greeting is proper, right? Because in essence, it's almost like you are interrupting, not that you're interrupting them, but you're interrupting their time. Or, if you're texting someone or you're writing someone or you're sending them an email, it's almost like when, I don't know if anybody had parents that would get on you if you walked in the room and you didn't greet. You walked in the house and you didn't greet. I'm from the South. You can't do that. You can't walk in the house and not say good evening, good morning, how are you? You know, or if your family members had company over. Y'all didn't grow up in a country household. Man, if I were to walk in the door and not greet whoever is sitting there, it would be a nightmare. You would have to pay for that. So, whenever you're engaged with someone, you should always greet them, even if it is in an email, right? So, what you are going to do, you are going to send a thank you note to the person that you interviewed with at Career Services. You're going to thank them for their time, and you're going to say something that happened in the interview. Now, once you send that email, you need to copy and paste that email and put it in the assignment. Do not just write a thank you letter and put it in the assignment and say, oh, yeah, this is what I sent. You need to show that you sent that thank you letter and then put it in the assignment. You can just do a screenshot of your sent messages showing that you sent that thank you letter to Career Services, and there you have it. Do we all understand what we need to do with that? This is all practice for you guys, right? Now, are there other business letters you'll write? Yeah, you guys are going to be writing acceptance letters. Even now, I'm going to tell you, when you're interviewing and hopefully you get more than one offer, good for you, make sure you respond to the other person and let them know that you decided to move in another direction. Why is that important? You never know when you need that job again. And if you ghost someone, they're going to remember. Remember, your industry is small. They're going to remember, oh, I really like that guy and I wanted to hire him, and then he ghosted me. He went in a different direction. 2 years from now you need a job again, and you want to reach out to these people, but you couldn't even send a thank you or letting them know that you moved in a different direction. It takes 5 minutes. You're going to write letters to suppliers if you're at a job, You're going to be responding to customers, especially those in the VA program. You're going to be dealing with patients, olders, and pet owners, and all kinds of stuff, right? If you're working on the residential side, you may have to reach out to the customers a lot. You need to know how to write basic communication. All right. So if you do get accepted, make sure you also send an acceptance, right? If you get that offer letter in the mail or in the email or wherever, let them know, oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy. If y'all have some loose end stuff that you need to talk about, bring it up in the body and do that salutation, right? Make sure you respond. Clearly, you're probably going to respond anyway because you need to accept the offer, but make sure that you say something. Don't just be like, here's my signed offer. Again, thank them for their time. All right. Again, I talked about declining offers. Make sure that you do that. All right, my friend, as I promised, I was going to get you guys out of here because I do know some people have their interview. So here we go. Here's all I want you to know. Here's what I want to know, rather. What is your biggest hurdle or obstacle that you feel will keep you from achieving what you want in your new career? And how will you overcome it? What is your biggest obstacle for us? Some people, it could be time, family. If I tell you what happened to me last night, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm in law school and I had a big law exam, guys, a huge law exam. And I thought I was doing good because my daughter was at school. I was going to finish teaching you guys and I was going to take my law exam. And as soon as I hung up with you guys, guess what happened? Her school called me and they said, Miss Taylor, you need to come get your daughter. She's sick. She came home and my daughter has autism. She's moderate to mild autism, but she was not having it because my law exam was online live and they watch you take the exam. And when I tell you my daughter did everything possible you can imagine that a child would do. climbing on me, pulling my clothes, falling out, hitting the floor like a tantrum. Can you imagine? I almost died. I just knew I was going to die. I know if those people were watching me, what is going on with Miss Taylor? Listen, talk about obstacle. I hate to call my kid an obstacle, but we all deal with something. You understand? We all deal with something, and that is something I am dealing with. But by God's grace, I'm gonna make it through. Right? So we all have hurdles. So, what is your biggest obstacle, and how will you overcome it? All right, my friends, please make sure Isaac. Isaac, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you a question. Are you ATA? No, you're not.
I don't believe so.
You know what? I must have two Isaacs. I always have that. But Isaac said, I don't believe so. Now, last time you check, I stay back. I want to talk to you for a sec. All right. Everybody else, Jackson, you too. You see how quickly? You see that? I wasn't fast enough. All right, guys. Everybody else, I'll see you later. My friends, please do your participation question. Please do your participation question. All right.